Hey, what is up everybody, Blades for here, and today for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video guys, we're going to be going ahead and doing the Kasumi unit review, seeing she is next in line for all the characters here. And this character was quite amazing. This was the first character that ended up dropping before, of course, the end of P5R, and then Akechi being the second character. And boy, she came out with a bang. She brought in some new mechanics, brought in some new little things here, and was a single target blessed unit, so a lot of us were really excited. And so we're gonna go ahead and get straight into this, but before we do that, of course, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really does help me out quite a lot. Y'all been going insane as usual, so I'm gonna continue doing as many videos as possible. You guys are probably gonna see a community post or something on my Twitter account very soon that's gonna show all of these. Pretty much all these videos are getting all recorded, I want to say on the 16th, which is a Monday currently. I don't know when you might see this specific one. It's either going on Tuesday or Wednesday, something like that. But man, I'm over here working hard, and hopefully y'all really do appreciate that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into it. Now, as I did say, Kasumi herself is absolutely amazing. She was one of the few characters that not only was our first single target blessed unit, but also was one of the first few that came with a very unique what's it called, ultimate here, or a unique highlight. This character had a lot of things going for her that wasn't the norm, I guess you could say, for a character. In fact, she did some crazy damage, brought in some collateral type damage moves here, while also bringing in the mask changing form, which we saw on prior different characters, but was our first character who could crit with her highlight. Yes, that is a thing. Inside this game, no other character has been able to crit with a highlight, and this is the only character who had this in her arsenal. So obviously it was a huge deal, especially for a lot of people, including myself. And if you duped her out, boy was she a menace. But now if we at least went over that brief section, go ahead and talk about at least her awarenesses. So for awareness wise, I would say something that you guys really want to go ahead and look into. Unfortunately, I was not lucky enough to get her myself. I would recommend a lot of you guys, if you wanted to go for an awareness on this character at all, A1 would be the one to go for. Real reasoning for this is because it allows you to have your dance partner a little bit longer than normal, which is absolutely amazing. And it also increases her dance partner's crit rates by 15% for 3 whole turns. Now, when you have this in mind, it's really going to be very helpful for anyone who's being that said dance partner. It's going to allow them to deal some damage and increase her own damage as well. So this is crazy, seeing that she's getting a 15% extra crit rate boost, and then whoever she is doing the dance partner with, most likely a very fast debuffer or a very fast supporter, they were also getting that crit rate boost while having their dance partner status extended by a whole turn. Absolutely amazing, really good to have. Would suggest you guys to go ahead and go for it. I know if I do get the chance to, I want to try and get her A1 as fast as possible. But for the A0, which is what I currently do have here, Violet has a special little mechanic here. In fact, her highlight does not consume highlight energy. It can also crit, which was something I ended up talking about earlier. And with this in mind, on at least any ally's turn, if Violet does have 2 or more of her posture stacks, which is usually going to be the 2 that we'll end up talking about, you guys will probably know about them very soon. Pretty easy to know. But these 2 posture stacks, she can then use at least a masquerade form. Her masquerade form, if I wanted to simplify this, is technically her highlight form here, or at least her prerequisite to utilize her highlight, and has a cooldown of 3 turns. Now, once she does enter this second turn of the masquerade form, under the masquerade at least status, every posture that she does have will then increase her attack by 10% and her crit by 3%. Once she does use the masquerade move or the highlight move, it will then remove all the posture, and then eventually the masquerade form once you do utilize that highlight. So surely do keep that in mind. It's absolutely amazing to use. All you got to know is highlight equals masquerade. You get this, you utilize all your postures, aka your stacks, utilize those, big numbers, big damage, pretty dang awesome. And when I say big damage, I mean big damage. So even with a 4-star weapon, A0, this character can hit 1 million on one target, no sweat. It's actually insane, and I really would love to actually showcase this character very soon, or at least showcase you guys this character very soon if possible. But we talked about the awarenesses. Let's go ahead and check out the skills. Now her skills, when it does come down to this, is you're going to be utilizing a little bit of all of them here, but for the main ones that you're going to check out the most is going to be at least her skill 2 and her skill 1. Her skill 3 technically does take priority, but if we're being utterly honest here, the best one that you really want to upgrade is going to be combat skills, then of course the skill 3. Now I am slacking on this. It's probably one of the reasons why she doesn't hit as even hard as she should be hitting, and whoa, I'm actually out of those, which is crazy. But the skill 3 is really what you want to go ahead and utilize, seeing it's going to help you out a lot, at least for the big boy damage near the end of her whole rotation. But going ahead and going backwards here, her combat skills is going to be really important, seeing this is going to be with the masquerade side of things, where she can finally use her highlight that can crit. So you want to have that up as much as possible. But with the skill 3, of course, this is where we're going to have a ton of damage here as well. With this in mind, you really want to go ahead and use that skill 3 once you're done with everything else, such as like your skill 2, skill 1, and your highlight, because that skill 3 then allows you to deal some monstrous damage, being at least a whopping 214% attack of less damage, and then increases the skill damage by 30% and the crit damage by 29.3% if you're in the masquerade form. Now, this is something that's going to happen. You're going to be in this form. You're going to make sure you're using this once you utilize your highlights. So this is a huge one to have. The next in line, of course, is going to be fairly nice for you to use as well, being at least the skill 2. Now skill 2 is your dance partner, so you're going to get most of at least all of your buffs from that said dance partner, and this is going to be a huge one that a lot of you guys really want to utilize. With this in mind, you pretty much just select the person to be your dance partner. In at least return, you and your dance partner now gets an attack boost for 3 whole turns, and of course you get a posture stack. The posture stack that you end up getting is called the agile step, in which there's one called brave step as well. Once you have this posture stack, you will then immediately utilize a skill of violets here that will attack a random enemy. Once it is used on this here, the main target will get glimmer of night to that enemy, and this can only be used on one dance partner. So you can only utilize that extra little follow-up if you have a dance partner in hand. If you don't have one, it's not going to do the follow-up. So you want to make sure you utilize this as fast as possible in her whole rotation. Then her skill 1 is also fairly important, because this gives you another form of your posture stack here, while also dealing some decent damage. But this posture stack is going to be called brave step. So instead of the agile step that we get from at least our skill 2, we get brave step from our skill 1. This is also going to allow you to trigger something with a skill 1 attack, as long as you have at least the dance partner, which does an extra amount of damage. Absolutely amazing to have. And remember, you can have 2 to 3 of these stacks, and it's going to deal a lot more depending on the amount of stacks you do have. But this isn't the only thing that she does have. She does have, of course, her main little passive, being Faith, in which for every posture stack, she's able to increase her damage up to 10%, all the way up to at least 30%. And then for the other one here, it increases other allies' highlights and increases her attack by 45% for 2 whole turns, which is actually nice as well when you think about it, seeing you're going to really need a lot of that help from your said dance partner in the future. But with this end at least out of the way here, let's go ahead and talk about her weapon and is it worth it. This character's weapon, I would say wholeheartedly, it is definitely worth it. You're getting yourself a whopping amount of at least crit damage. It is a huge amount of at least 36.3%. You also add on to at least your postures and how much they can actually give you damage increases, or a 21% attack increase for 2 whole turns to 1 whole stack. Alongside of this here, you're also helping out at least your allies, seeing whenever they use at least a highlight, you gain 1 of wake, in which awake is going to allow you to increase your damage by 8.4% for 3 whole turns, and this can stack to 2 turns. So if we do have 2 whole versions of wake, it actually helps out your highlight damage, which is a 30% chance, or at least a 30% increase, and this is going to be huge for anyone who really wants the most damage out of at least our girl Kasumi. Now granted, you can very well use the 4-star weapon. In fact, I ended up hitting 1 million damage with the 4-star weapon, and this one only gives you the attack bonus and the damage bonus only when you have 2 posture stacks, which is really all you really need, to be honest. But if you want to do overall just more damage and get even more for your buck, the 5-star weapon is heavily worth it, and I would suggest everyone to try and go. If you're not that lucky to get that, or either if you don't care about the 5-star weapon, by all means, the 4-star weapon is just as good, and it really will get the job done. So would definitely suggest it. Get the weapon, it's really worth it. Can't get it, then go ahead and skip it. But now if we talked about the character, let's go ahead and showcase her in battle. Now, as always, we're gonna go ahead and do this by fighting a little bit of a boss here. Luckily, nothing is null in this boss, so we'll be able to at least show this pretty easily here. And team wise, she kind of jumps around for me. Actually, do I even have a preset for her? I actually do not have a preset. So this character jumps around for me. She's one of the few characters that I will say is a little bit funky. The reason why I say this is because depending on at least your support characters and their dupings, and depending on at least her duping, it will change how you utilize her, or at least utilize her rotation. In fact, she's one of the few characters that I would actually not recommend using with Anj, and that's per se mainly because I like the crit damage that we get as well as the crit rate that we get from Kaba. While for Anj, the pin doesn't really help her all too much, but who knows, I might do a video just going ahead and comparing the two, seeing what happens, at least on their first rotation, because the double pin, or at least the double retry with the masquerade buff, might be a little bit dummy, so I'm kind of interested to see that myself. Now, since we're not actually utilizing anything else with this character, or actually utilizing the team properly, we're just gonna go ahead and get into it and showcase how her skills do look. So one of the first things I want to go ahead and show is we have full highlight bar. As you can see, this is not getting triggered, and that's because she cannot work off the highlight bar. She only can work off just her regular skills. So first things first that we're going to go ahead and do is show off the skill 2, seeing that you do need at least a dance partner. Now, you usually want to put the dance partner on your fastest person here, seeing they're going to be up to the plate first, and it allows you to have a little bit of fun with whatever you need to do. So we're going to go ahead and actually block here. So skill 2, you guys got to see. And then the next thing that we're going to utilize is the skill 1. The reason I'm doing it in this at least direction here is mainly because it does correlate with how she usually does her rounds. So surely do keep that in mind. Now, since we use at least a skill with our character, she ended up doing a follow-up attack, which does happen only if you have the the skill 2 ready. Now, once again, I'm actually going to go ahead and pop this off once we do get into our masquerade form. For now, let's just go ahead and buff her just to show you guys what she can do. Now, with this character here, seeing it is her turn once again, this would technically be the point where you want to use her skill 1, getting up another posture stack, in which you guys can kind of see them at the bottom by her face, the 2 little yellow stacks right there, which gives her more of a posture stack then. This kind of sets her up to be ready for the next rotation of things, in which will be more or less where you want to deal as much damage as possible. So for us, we're gonna go ahead and just not really do too much of anything here and just show you guys what she can really do. Now, we didn't buffer, we didn't do any additional type stuff, so it is gonna be a little bit weird to see how she does do this here, but pretty much now we have the full stacks and her masquerade bonus. What you would end up doing is going ahead and proccing the masquerade, which looks something like this. And then with this in mind, you can then utilize her highlight. This highlight once again does crit, in which would do something like this. So it's going to get blocked a lot of damage, seeing that this guy doesn't really like that too often. Now, we didn't of course do too much, 1 because he's weaker, 2 because he resisted it, and 3 we did not buff properly, which is perfectly fine. But now that we've used this skill, or at least the highlight, we can then go ahead and use our skill 3, which usually does colossal damage of bless and does a large sum of damage. You just kind of rinse and repeat. All the skills are pretty darn cool to see, and to be honest, I really do like her highlights the most because it's really cool to see it really just go off. Seeing at least the amount of damage that she can do is insanely worth it. And if we were doing any other boss, and if I actually go ahead and actually buff properly, it would show you that she can do some crazy numbers. But I'll probably save that for a different video. But for now, thank you guys very much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share it around, share it to your family. It really does help me out quite a lot here, and I appreciate all the support I can get. But till next time, everybody, peace out.